The 155th edition of the Roy's Boys podcast starts right now.
Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been. There ever will be.
Nate Humphrey hands King Rice the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Good. Off the glass. Oklahoma calls timeout. But the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Been ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered by Minnie.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good! 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out to head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. Carolina has won the national championship. And how about them Tar Heels? They are the national champions.
The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Roy's Boys podcast with your host, Josh Marlowe. Everybody, welcome to another edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services. Josh Anthony here with you today. Today we're going to take a look back at the win over North Carolina Central on Saturday. A very uneven, very uneasy 73-67 win for Carolina as they snapped a 2-game losing streak, get their second home win of the season. They've only played 2 games at home in the Smith Center so far here in 2020. And Anthony, we're not going to try to lie to the audience here. We didn't watch the game. We were sitting courtside at the Bash in Columbia International University working.
Yes.
Preface
that.
Yeah, we were working. But we were keeping track of the game at work, doing as much as we could with the fact that we were, working, and that the game wasn't on many TV carriers to begin with.
We couldn't stream it on our phones because it told us, ESPN with the AC Network Extra thing, it says it's not in your region. It's very stupid. We couldn't figure out how to get the game up. So at that point, we just decided to go through and pretty much just follow the game cast. And I mean, look, we could get a decent idea of what was going on just seeing play-by-play when it was being put in of what exactly was happening.
And this is where Twitter really pays off because you can read other people's views, the people that were able to view the game,
right,
and kind of draw some of our own conclusions from that.
Oh, we should also say that Mark Cranes lives in Nebraska, didn't get the game.
Yeah.
So we were all completely just blind on this. We had no idea what we could really, do for it. So, yeah, unfortunately we were stuck. But, we did the best that we could with it. So.
Yeah. Like I said, uneven performance. Carolina comes back from a 1-19-day deficit in the first half to win 73-67. They gave up a 9-0 run to finish the game to make the game a little bit tighter. But needless to say, Carolina wasn't at their best on Saturday. Coming off in a game where you lost to Iowa, you felt like you actually took a step back in this game despite getting a win because you didn't play as well as you played at Iowa on Tuesday. Maybe that's because it was a short notice. Maybe that was just because you overlooked the opponent. And as young teams, that is very possible. That could have happened. But you still got some things to take away from this game. The biggest thing, or the one thing I took away, was Armando Bacot was the best player on the floor for Carolina. 19 points, 6 of 7 shooting, 7 of 10 from the foul line, grabbed 11 rebounds. We had a discussion on the last podcast about how Day'Ron Sharpe is probably on the verge of moving into the starting lineup. With this kind of effort from Armando Bacot, that kind of quiets that because he was the best player on the floor for the Tar Heels. He was one of the 4 guys to get in double figures. Caleb Love responded after an uneven game in Iowa, scored 12 points, 4 of 9 shooting, handed out 4 assists, grabbed 3 rebounds, was 4 or 5 from the foul line. This was a good chance really for him as we talked and we previewed the game. This is a good chance for him and R.J. Davis to get better, to take a step forward. Caleb Love did that. R.J. Davis on the offensive end did not. Only 6 points, 2 of 10 shooting, 0 of 5 from behind the 3-point line for a game that Carolina's offense wasn't great. They only shot 46% from the field. They were only 13% from 3. They did improve the foul line, 25 of 31 to go 81%. So I best, the best way to take the best word to describe this game was uneven, because you got to win, but you got to play a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's probably spot on. I mean, the other thing is kind of like you said there. I mean, Armando Bacot has his best game of the year. Day'Ron Sharpe has a nice second half for you. Caleb Love shows you some things, but you struggle shooting the three. You struggle shooting overall. So, it's kind of an up and down game. You don't really know what exactly to take from it. But at the same time, remember, this is a game that was scheduled earlier in the week. So it was, I'm not going to say it was a quick turnaround. It's a weird situation this year as a whole. But, there are going to be games like this. The good news is that even though you were – I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Outside of Armando Bacot, you were completely horrible in that first half. That was awful. That was a terrible performance from you. You still found a way to, at one point in that second half, get a comfortable enough lead at 15 to put in reserves. Now, granted, I mean, you didn't go to the blue squad, but at the same time, I mean, you should still feel pretty confident about what you showed in that once you were able to sort of get yourself going. But it is scary. I mean, at this point, it is a little scary that you're looking at those shooting numbers and you're starting to think back to last year a little bit, that these were some of the struggles that they had a year ago, shooting from the perimeter. I'm not going to say that it's at that point yet, but again, as we've talked about, this schedule does not lend well to a young roster. Yeah. You have to grow up quickly, because what's your next game? You go to the CBS Sports Classic against Ohio State. Now, again, I'm not really sure where Ohio State is ranked. I'm pretty sure they're an AP-ranked team. At this point, they're probably ranked ahead of you. So you're going to have to come prepared for this game. And then even after that game, then you go into conference play. So that's the biggest concern, I think. But again, a game that was scheduled on short notice against a program in NC Central that has prided themselves on making the NCAA tournament, playing these types of games, and making them competitive. But, at the same time, there's definitely some concerns that you have to take away.
Yeah, another game where you didn't value the basketball. You turned it over 18 times. They turned it into 16 points on their end.
Is that just a part of this team now? Where you're just going to have to outscore other opponents at times because you turn the ball over so much? I feel like because at this point, we've talked about it after every game, really, except that first game of the year. It feels like just because they're so young, we're going to have to expect it.
We've seen this team on the court 6 times, and I think you've got enough of a sample size to judge how the season's going to go. I think Carolina is going to be a team that turns the ball over at a very high rate, and I think, and this game really probably shows you that, they're going to start slow. For whatever reason, outside of the game against College of Charleston to start the season, where you started the game on a 16-2 run, they have came out and started slow. Maybe down 13-0 to UNLV, came all the way back and routed them. You had a slow start against Stanford, Texas, Iowa, you name it. So I think those are two things this team's going to struggle with. They're going to turn the ball over because they're young, and they're probably going to start slow because they're young. Yeah. And it's just something that you got to live with. You like the fact that they have the ability to battle back from double-digit deficits and win games and take the lead. They've done it against UNLV. They did it against Texas, although they got beat. They got down by double digits against Iowa, came back, took a lead in the second half, and then, of course, on Saturday got down 11, came back, took the lead, and, of course, went on to win the ball game. You got to love the free throw shooting numbers because you go 25 of 31. That means you got their team in foul trouble, and you made them pay for it. Mm-hmm. We've been asking for them to do that since the season started. First off, get the team in foul trouble. You got the deepest front court maybe in college basketball. There's no excuse to get teams in foul trouble. They did a better job of that on Saturday, and they made the foul shots. 25 of 31. That's 81%. You shoot 81% from the foul line. That kind of negates all the turnovers, the bad three-point shooting. And so that's probably, for me, the biggest positive in this game was that you shot the free throws well because you were 2 of 13 from the three-point line. Only 46% against North Carolina Central isn't the number you want to see, but basketball and COVID in 2020, you'll take it. They dominated the glass, 37-25. They've they've rounded into form. Garrison Brooks said, we expect to be the best rebounding team in the college basketball. I think they are that. Their numbers back that up. They've out-rebounded every opponent, and most of the time it hasn't been, frankly, close. So another thing that I think you really got to take away from this game, and I wrote about this in the recap, is you've got a dynamic duo forming on the bench. You've got Day'Ron Sharpe, as mentioned, in the big second half. Andrew Platek has carved out his role.
What? What is that? Wow.
So
who could have possibly said in the offseason, give this man a chance because he could end up being a contributor on the team? Was it me or was it you or
it was both of us?
I think it was both of us.
And he's turned into the guy that when he's playing at his best and to the level that he's capable of, he can be a really big part of this team. And he was a big part of that team in the first half outside of Armando Bacot. He gave you 11 points, 4 of 6 from the field. He made your only 2 made three-pointers in the ball game. And he's doing the things defensively that you love to see. And I think, and I wrote this, I think as much as you want to move Day'Ron Sharpe into the starting lineup, and you would maybe think about moving our Andrew Platek into the starting lineup, having those guys coming off the bench is beneficial for Carolina.
Yeah, I think it's a confusing situation. Now, I think with the Bacot Sharpe argument, Bacot is a guy that you feel confident if he came off the bench, he could give you that same sort of boost that Sharpe is giving you. We don't know if R.J. Davis would be able to do that because he's never played that role. Armando Bacot has played that role at times. He did that a little bit last year because he was banged up. But yeah, I mean, with Platek, I got to admit, I said, look, let's give the guy a chance. I didn't think he would be this productive, but as I start to think about it, it makes a little bit of sense. This was kind of the perfect scenario for him to step up. Again, nobody is saying that this season is perfect. Nobody's saying that everything that's going on with COVID-19 is perfect. Anybody that says that is a loon. But this was a scenario where your freshman didn't get a lot of time to play. It's a freshman-laden roster, and Andrew Platek is a senior.
Yeah.
This is, look, as much crap as everybody gives Platek, this is a guy that even at times last year, you saw the effort was there. The question was, does he have the skill set to live up to the effort? He's starting to show that he does have a skill set. It is there. But the main thing that's paying off for him is the effort when it comes to this team. He knew that he had to step up in the offseason. He's been a part of this program for a while. He knows the standards that Roy Williams sets for his guys. And he knew with the way this roster was made up this year, he knew I got to step up. And he's doing it. I mean, again, we thought, first game of the year, he goes plus 27 against College of Charleston. We said to ourselves, okay, yeah, good performance in that game. He definitely deserved to be shouted out. That was a guy that, in some of our articles that we wrote and stuff like that, we overlooked him a little bit, admittedly. We came on and admitted that on the podcast. But now, I mean, he's a legitimate guy that we've got to look at each game and say, okay, what can he do to help us? If R.J. Davis is struggling, we're saying, let's see Platek, put him in. Yeah. So for him to come that far and to be as efficient as he is, that's the thing. He's added it on the offensive end, and he's still doing what he did and even building on it a little bit, what he did last year on the defensive end. You feel pretty confident. But, at the same time, it just really stinks because you see a guy like him flourishing, yet this is a game that still has you feeling about as uneasy about the team as you have all season. So, I don't know. But at the same time, I still think, and I'm going to keep saying this probably the entire season, this team still has me more confident than last year's team. I don't know what it is about them, but there's still more confidence in this team this year than I had in the team last year.
I think it's because, first off, they're coachable. Last year's team, they were a veteran team that wasn't coachable. That's never good. But I think it's the fact that they're willing to fight. They're willing to scrap. They're winning games ugly. Carolina won games early last year that were ugly, and I thought that'd benefit them in the long run, and it didn't. It benefits a young team because they're learning all the different ways to win. And that's good because they don't know how to win. Most of the guys that are playing a big role don't know how to win at this level.
If they had beaten Iowa, I think we would have a really, really confident take on this team right now. I really feel like we would think this team was a top 10 team in basketball.
I think this is going to be a team more than any other team that Roy Williams has had, that when we get to February and we get to March and we're saying they've improved from game to game and they've improved from month to month and they're playing their best basketball when they